We'll call the Shakopee City Council meeting to order for April 1st, 2025. And no, it's not April Fools that we're having this meeting. Item number 2, we will welcome our new city clerk, Mr. Parsons. Welcome to Shakopee, glad to have you. If you could take the roll call, please.
Thank you. Councilmember Delaney?
Here.
Councilmember Whitening?
Here, and welcome.
Thank you. Councilmember Contreras?
Here.
And Mayor Lehman?
Here, thank you. Item number 3, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 4 is approval of the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda?
Staff just is going to pull item 5J from the consent agenda, Mr. Mayor. That's the only other change.
5J is being removed?
Correct.
Changes from council? Seeing none? Wishes of council? Councilor Contreras?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
Second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Delaney. Discussion on the motion? Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 5, our consent agenda. Is there any changes to the consent agenda?
Nothing other than the pulling of 5J, sir.
Changes from council? Mr. Whiting?
5I.
5I.
Yeah, please pull that.
Any other changes from council? Mr. Whiting?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as modified.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Delaney. Discussion on the motion? Mr. Reynolds, would you please read the consent agenda, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. These are the consent agenda items for Tuesday, April 1st of 2025. 5A is the 2024 year-end general fund transfers and assignment of fund balance. 5B is the joint powers agreement for roadway pavement maintenance. 5C is the hiring of a foreperson for public works. 5D is the park restroom cleaning contract. 5E is state legislation on revoking city zoning authority and public participation in zoning decisions under the guise of affordable housing legislation. 5F is change orders for Windermere Park submitted by Loafer. 5G approves the city council meeting minutes. 5H accepts donation from Shakopee Youth Baseball Association for benches.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Any discussion on the motion? Discussion, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 6 is public comment. If you're here for an item not on our agenda, now would be the time to come forward and address the city council. So if you're here for an item not on the agenda, please step forward. And there's a table with a mic. Welcome. Love to hear from you. We try to keep this to 5 minutes or so if possible.
We're David and Jeannie Gavin at 613 4th Avenue East.
So we come before you, our elected officials, with some questions about jurisdiction concerning the workings of the Shakopee Public Utilities and the Shakopee Public Utilities Commission. So we believe it's our right to have safe and reasonable access to electric and water utilities. And it's our understanding that you, our elected mayor and city council members, appointed the Public Utilities Commission to oversee Shakopee Public Utilities and therefore have some jurisdiction over how they operate within our community. So we wanted to check with you first. Are we correct in that understanding?
Mr. Thompson?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, the city council appoints the members of the commission, and it depends on the issue that's involved as to what the role of the city council is. I couldn't answer that just generically across the board. I need to know what the issue is.
Okay.
It differs with electric. It differs with, I'd have to know the issue.
Okay, sure. The reason why we ask is because we don't want to waste the time. But so we'll just assume that it's yes, and we'll proceed, and then we can kind of go from there. So we are in disagreement with the policies and actions of the Shakopee Public Utilities and the Commission concerning the implementation of an advanced meter infrastructure, or AMI, in our community, as it causes harm to biological systems. And the primary issue is whether, in fact, the AMI technology is harmful or not, and there's evidence on both sides of the issue. So it comes down to jurisdiction and who ultimately gets to decide the means by which utilities are metered at an individual citizen's home. So for comparison, other utilities, Excel, for example, they allow customers to keep their current analog meters for a small monthly fee. In fact, they even have in their policy, they acknowledge that some people are concerned about the health effects, and so they do offer a policy that allows people to do that. So the Shakopee Public Utilities continually cites FCC regulations, which they seem to believe allows them to usurp the right to govern our home, personal health, and well-being. And the FCC only gives guidelines they deem safe, but there's no mandate that we know of that forces the utility to implement the new technology or that dictates we must accept this new AMI technology. So we've recently been through the utilities appeal process, during which we presented scientific evidence and a medical necessity letter from our physician. And as of today, they've denied our request and created resolution number 2025-06, stating their findings of fact and determination regarding our appeal. And we believe this resolution contains misrepresentations of our communication with the utility and the commission, as well as biased interpretation of information to suit their best interests, not the best interests of their customers. So we've also asked numerous questions during the appeal process, which were never answered. And the utility's next actions in our case, if we do not comply with accepting this harmful technology, will be to impose a $100 a month fine for 3 months, and after that time, penalize us by shutting off our electric and water service. So we ask you to call for further investigation, and if you deem appropriate, that you would compel the utility and the commission to change their policy to first allow customers to keep their current analog meters, to notify all current and future customers of this option available to them, and to not penalize customers who have medical conditions with any additional monthly fees or meter exchange fees. And then we also ask that you call for the suspension of any penalty action toward us from Shakopee Public Utilities until you reach a conclusion in your investigation, if you choose to do so.
Thank you. Questions for clarifying, Mr. Whiting?
Mr. Thompson, would appealing a decision from the public utilities be appropriate to come before this board?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, did you say
An appeal, a decision?
I'd have to look, I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, because this deals with both electric and water. I'm looking at the Shakopee Utilities website, and I think the advanced meter pertains to both water and electric, if I'm reading the website correctly. So I need to look into it to see what jurisdiction the council has over this.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, you can certainly have them come for informational purposes, but in order to know what the council's legal role on this, I need to do a little more examination on that.
Okay, I'd like to see that gets done and gets reported back to us on this matter.
Okay. Any other clarifying questions from council? It's my understanding that the utility, in its original inception, was created by voter referendum as a separate entity of the city. And 2022, there was a ballot question whether that would remain separate from the city, and the voters said yes. So we would have to clarify the original creation, I guess, also.
Quick clarification to your comment,
Yes.
I guess. So, because one thing that we weren't clear on is who actually owns it, and that relates to jurisdiction. Because like with Excel, I mean, Excel owns it. You know, it's a different entities, but it sounds like the city and the public owns the Shakopee Public Utilities.
I believe it would be the ratepayers of the people that they serve, which is Shakopee and some areas outside of our jurisdiction.
But the customers?
Correct, but I'm not an expert
Okay.
on that. The Public Utilities Director, Manager is here, Mr. Drent. If you want to answer any of these questions and clarify some of this for us, if you know the answers, that would be acceptable.
I would just remind council that this particular portion of our
Is not to make
meeting
decisions.
is not to make decisions and not to get involved in the particular issue.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'll just clarify that we did hear the concerns. We gave them 3 different options, and they have gone through the appeal process. So our board has heard the discussion and has voted on it, and our board has made a decision. So, I mean, I guess that's, that's where it's at.
And the options were?
The options were to allow us to install them on the outside of the house. Some people want on their outside of their house. Or we also have a third option that they could trench in a new electric line out across the alley, and we would put a communication line in with it, and then the meters would actually be across the alley. So that would be at their expense that they would have to run that wire, but we gave them 3 different options to alleviate having it in their home.
Okay.
And may I speak to that?
Yes.
Okay. So we did consider those options, but from all of the research that we've done and the medical professionals that we choose to be under their authority because they help us, those are not good options for us because it's the actual attachment of these meters and the way that they're designed that attaches to our electrical system that causes problems as well as the radio frequency. So it's not even an issue completely of where you put it, it's the fact that it's attached to our electrical system.
Mr. Whiting?
Mr. Drent, was there discussion on having the opportunity to leave the existing analog meter in?
We did have that discussion early on, and our commission decided that we were no longer going to have meter readers or anybody to read meters, and the process automatically gets put into our billing system. We're eliminating those positions for efficiencies. So we'll have some meter techs that have programming meters and some other stuff, but we're no longer going to have meter readers on our system. So early on, that discussion was there, and we chose, as a utility, the board chose that we were not going to have meter readers anymore.
Question I have is, if neighbors on both sides were to want AMI meters, would that still affect you?
Well, that's an interesting way you pose the question, because as far as I'm concerned, no one was asked, do you want these meters? And that was actually one of the questions we posed from the very beginning, is help us understand, you say that customers are asking for this technology to be able to do such and such. So we asked, could we see some of that, I'd be interested in seeing that data. I'm a researcher by background. I'm very interested to see what kind of research was done and how the study was designed, but I was never asked. In fact, when we first heard about the AMI technology through I think we get the yearly report that comes out, and I saw a little thing that says they were looking into the technology, I called right away and I voiced my concern. I think I spoke with Sharon Walsh, saying that I really hope that you're looking into the full spectrum of opinion on whether these are, good, because there's a lot of scientific data out there that's supporting that they're very harmful for people. And
I can tell you, I know that there's a portion of our society, that the tech-savvy group, that likes this technology because they can view all the data. So, Mr. Whiting.
So I guess so I'd like to hear back on what the appeals process for the public utilities are, and I'd also like to hear back whether or not
What our role would be in policy.
Policy and the appeals process to that.
Okay.
Their board's decision. And I also like to hear if there would be any liability in the future that could come back on the city if there was an issue with this technology found in 10 years. We thought Teflon was great. Now it's banned. So technology catches up, and sometimes it's not always as great as we think. So I would like to know what the clawback is to this city.
Okay.
Thompson, thank you.
All right. Yep.
Member Whiting, to that end, again, we are citizens of this community. We love this community. So we are here to support in whatever you investigate. I mean, we don't want to be a roadblock to this, but to your point, there are some that are likening this issue to the tobacco industry and how it took 50-plus years for the government agencies to acknowledge that it was very harmful. But they're actually saying that this is even infinitely more problematic than tobacco. So it may take a while for it to reach culmination, but it will come out.
I haven't done any research
Yeah.
on it, so I can't tell you, but.
Mr. Delaney, do you have anything to add?
Everything has already been said. I know we did offer options, including a Faraday cage wrapped around the water meter, run to the outside, communications across the alley. That would have no, again, I empathize, understand where your concerns. That would have literally no RF back into the home. It's basically the communications will be outside the home and at the edge of the property. So that's what we did offer. We also looked into, I guess, readers, but again, that would make our system inefficient, and also we'd have to figure out a cost for that. Right now, I think there's, out of 18,000 meters that have been installed, if I have the number correct, I think we've only had 2 so far that's gone through the appeals process.
All righty.
I would just comment that 85% of the electric meters in the United States are already some sort of automatic meter reading system on them. Many utilities are like ours that don't have opt-out programs. There are some that do. So we looked at both on both sides of that thing. We're really behind the game on this. This is 20-some-year-old technology already. I know utilities in Minnesota that are on their 3rd version of an AMI system. We're on our 1st one. So I'm not saying that it's bulletproof data, but there is data out there that shows that this is ongoing technology, and it's not a new technology that we're implementing.
Is the study prior to deciding to go to AMI meters available to the public?
Everything's available to the public, I guess. I mean, as far as the study, I mean, we implemented what we were going to do. I don't know if we had a specific third-party study done on AMI. It's been in the works. I've been at the utility for 9 years, almost 10 years. In prior administrations, we had a study done. It just took a long time to implement that. So that information is available, but that's a fairly old study that was done. The board decided to move forward on an AMI project on this one.
Is that available on the website, or does somebody have to come to the office and ask specifically for it?
I can look for that. There was like I say, we did not do a specific third-party study recently, but this would be an older study that was done.
Okay. All right. And RF signals, what is that comparable to? Who's the expert on that?
Radio frequencies.
Radio frequency, in this case, you're talking, I forgot, 900.
What's a cell phone?
Cell phone is, oh my, yeah, you're going to get RF from your cell phone.
Is that RF?
Pretty much anything, your cell phone, the monitors. In this case, we're talking, I think, from FCC, it's 10 times less than what the FCC, I guess, limits for that frequency range. Again, I forgot the numbers themselves, but it's only on a burst of maybe less than a minute a day. And again, this will be the edge of the property, so your likely exposure is really limited. I mean, there's, again, from just the information we do have.
A cell phone is RF?
Yes, you would get that's considered RF. So if we had a meter, and I would have brought my meter if I knew we were going to do this, you can literally get bursts all the time from, again, cell phones. I think when I was at my home just kind of playing around with it, I could see the burst from here, go down to my router, see the burst from there, go to my meter. Again, the meter's not transmitting that often, so you'd have to sit there and maybe monitor it until it does actually communicate from the water meter. But yeah, pretty much you're getting exposed to RF all the time. It's not really something you can kind of avoid. Microwaves, everything, yeah.
So I just have one last question for whoever the expert is. If you put a Faraday thing around the meter, the meter can't put it out, but then how does the signal get to where it needs to go?
That's the wire communication. So you have your water meter in the home, wrap it with a Faraday cage or Faraday tape, run it to the edge of your home or the edge of
I
your
get the
property.
water meter part because that's got a separate wire coming off the meter, uses a battery.
Correct.
Sends a signal down the wire and then goes to a thing outside the house and
And
sends
that's the
it out.
communication piece.
So I'm talking about the power meter.
Power meter. In that case,
Mr. Drent, do you have an answer for that one? Sorry, I'm a lay
No,
person on the
that's
issue.
fine. So if you put a cage around the whole meter, obviously there would be some, if there was, a lot of times people put something against the wall and then the meter's on it so it can't intrude in. It would only put the RF frequency out in order to do that. These meters do talk to each other, from one talks to another to get the readings back to us. So if it can just go across and get to another meter and then it can send it up, they can hop 3 and 4 times if they need to in order to get to those spots. So a lot of times there's something behind the meter, and then it's still, the meter can put the signal out away from the home.
And the only way to get around the RF is to your option of moving it out to the alley.
Yeah, and then the RF is moved out to the edge of the property.
Okay.
That is one of the options that we gave. And it's not just them, to somebody that has these concerns, we're giving them options to do that. So it's not just one, it's to all of our customers if they want to do that. So.
The option was bury the service to the pole, correct, or
Yep,
whatever,
and then we
the
can put
transformer.
that
Could you
meter
do
out.
this from on the pole itself if it had a connected line to the house?
As far as an overhead service, or what?
Overhead service, could you put that still out on the pole to at least?
We would say that you need to go on to an underground type service in order to do that. Otherwise, you'd have to go down and then back up. We don't meter, we're not electricians. We can do the high side stuff. We're not licensed electricians. So we have to stay on the outside of the house. We can't go in somebody's house and do any electrical wiring, so we have to stay on the outside of that. We can go to the top side of the meter. We can't go inside and redo somebody's panel and
So
stuff
you'd
like that.
actually have to put a new meter at the pole.
Yeah, a lot of
and
times they
then
can
run it to
reuse
the
the meter
mast.
that's on the house a lot of times, and they'll put it out there depending on the situation, so.
So the meter would have to move out there.
Yeah, meter would have to move it.
You'd have to have the box that it plugs into mounted somewhere. Okay.
Can I just, one more comment? I guess when you're asking about the RF and whatever, I just want to clarify again, it's not just the radio frequency, it's also, it's a switch mode power supply, and when that's attached to the electrical system, it causes issues that affect your home, your whole home. So I understand if you're going to get some more information on this, but I guess I would ask that you look at some of the resources in depth that we provided in our January 6th presentation to the commission. Because if you rely on FCC, you're still going to get the same old data. We have experts we've consulted with, specifically related to my health concerns, and they have very specifically said, do not have it attached to your home. So I guess this is the bottom line where we're asking, we have a medical condition that our physician, and actually 2 of them, but we got a letter from one of them so far, is saying, do not have it attached to your home. It will cause harm to your current condition. So I guess it's an authority issue, and who has jurisdiction? Because, I'm just going to stand, I'm a citizen of the United States of America, and I'm going to stand on, we have rights under the Constitution. I'm so glad you pledged allegiance, because that, it tells me that you honor this country and what we're founded on. So it's a difficult issue, because I understand there has to be efficiencies and costs that you have to be concerned about. But, even in the mission of Shakopee, safety's right up there. And so I know you're probably talking about safety of the police, having the police and the sheriff and that kind of thing. But if you don't have your health, you have nothing. So if this is problematic, as some say it is, you could wipe out a city, in a generation, if not less. So again, that sounds pretty scary, but if you start doing some research in what's current, I think you'll be a bit surprised.
If I may suggest, legal counsel is going to look in this issue, see whether or not there is any authority of this body. Obviously, council members have the opportunity if they want to contact you if they need to. Ultimately, it may be that this body has nothing that they can do.
And
Well, and that will be an answer. So, you know, we're just needing an answer because, you know,
Right.
if we can't get help here, and again, we don't hold you, you know, we're not mad at you. You know, we just want an answer because then we need to go to the people who can help us.
right. And does staff have your contact information if
Yeah,
anybody
we
from
should.
council wants to contact you?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Ever lead pipes in Rome? Lead pipes in Rome? Lead pipes? Yeah, that's what killed off Rome.
Is there anybody else that would like to talk to the city council on an item not on our agenda? Seeing none, we will move on to item number 7, business removed from the agenda. That was 5I, Councilor Whiting.
Yeah, thank you. Gosh, I think it was just a couple weeks ago, maybe a month, that I asked that these plats come off consent and be presented to us. Sometimes I don't feel heard, but consent is 1 vote, not 3, so I would hope that these come off consent. So I'd like to, first of all, take a look at, I also asked at that time that we have a better overview of where this is placed in our community. And the best one I found.
Should we have staff do a basic presentation?
Yeah, why don't we do that, but I want to go to the, I'll find that page when we get to it. Why don't we start with the presentation?
Mr. Kursky, if you want to go over the basics of the plat?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and Council. So this is the final plat of Palomino Trail. Pulte Homes of Minnesota applicant and property owner have made their application for the final plat. Subject property is located at 16th and 17th Avenue, west of Windermere Way and south of Highway 169. The applicant has proposed a plat that would consist of 83 single-family lots on 31.77 acres. The net area of 20.55 acres, with the city owning the adjacent 23.6 acre open space parcel. The proposed lots would primarily be accessible from 17th Avenue. Some of the features of this project include lots that will have exceptional views to the north and a trail proposed to run along the northerly area of the plat, adjacent to the bluff, forming that part of the greater greenway plan for this area of the community. So this is the, get this to work, subject area of the plat. If you remember, this was formerly owned by Randy Kubish. He eventually sold it to Pulte. This is 17th Avenue that will come through here. This is the property we bought from the Tice family probably 4 or 5 years ago. The Tice Rock, I believe, is over here. You'll see there, here's the current city trail right here. They will be building a trail that runs across the back of these properties, then will connect to the property that was approved at the last council meeting as part of Bluffview. So the city owns this 20-some-odd acre parcel already right here.
Mr. Kursky,
Yes, sir.
back up, please. There you go. The property directly to the west, we just approved, correct?
Correct.
At 2 meetings ago, I think it was? And since 17th Avenue is required to be extended along with the services of sewer, water, electric, and streets, trails, it's difficult to do. I mean, it's always good to have these in order so that the infrastructure is being done in an orderly fashion and not hopscotching.
We discussed this parcel being the linchpin to that parcel at the time.
And the second question would be, since this is a final plat, is it consistent with the preliminary?
Mayor and Council, correct. There's been no changes since the preliminary plat. And as you are correct, the sewer and water are in Tamarack, so they'll be pulling those through and connecting it to the property next door. If you remember, that final plat for the Bluff project was conditional on this project final platting and then pulling those utilities through. They have already have their grading permit, and if the weather will ever hold, they'll start doing the grading and start pulling those utilities through. And they're also going to extend 17th Avenue through their property, and then the process right now of grading that out.
Did we see the preliminary plat, or was it a?
Yes, you did, Mayor.
Okay.
Yep.
Sometimes they're administrative because they're meeting all the basic zoning requirements in the proper zoning. Mr. Whiting?
Yeah, thank you. So if you talked about the trail, and I'm trying to see if there's any document showing that trail in here. And
Mayor and council, the city owns this parcel right here, and we own this parcel. The existing trail kind of dead ends here, so now we'll pick up, and it runs kind of following this purple line, and then comes down and connects to this parcel over here. So this is the flat area. We actually walked this about a week or two ago to go through. There are some significant trees in here that'll be preserved. And then the city, as I said, owns all of the bluff area, so we wanted to make sure the trail meandered through the large oak trees that are up here.
well, again, I'm going to bring up the concern about, there's several of these lots listed as 1, 2, and 3, but I'm looking at the top of this map as 1, 2, 3, throw 4 in there too, along the bluff line. Again, there's going to be a trail down there, and we've talked about I appreciate the open space on the street, so we have some of that view. I want to make sure that trail's in there before those houses are.
So, Mayor and Council, there is, as part of the development agreement, an easement, and so that trail is actually in these two homes' backyards to keep them from going into our bluff area. So, because of the grade right here, the trail will actually be in the back end of their property.
And if it's not there before, we've seen this before when they.
Yep. So we have spoken with all of these developers and with the engineering department. We're going to be placing signs along these property lines telling them that this is city-owned property and conservation area on all of these properties along here, so that we don't end up with someone shed back here and this person builds a playground back here, so that people realize this is public property.
So when can we anticipate that trail going in, at least past those houses, so at least, and maybe the other parcel 1 on the other end? Because those are the folks that come down here and say, we don't want a trail in our backyard. Nobody told us anything.
So Mayor and
We've heard
Council,
it before.
Yep, so as part of this development, they're actually building the trail as part of the development. And
Okay.
originally, this, when they did the preliminary plat, their thought was this would be done in 2 phases. They've made a corporate decision to do this all at once. So all the grading for us is being done through here. We are going to hire separately. They're using a tree removal contractor here. There's a lot of, and I can't remember the name of the bush, but it'll rip your leg off. That's kind of growing.
Buckthorn?
No, it's worse than buckthorn.
Oh, gooseberries. Probably.
I think it is. It's thorny gooseberry, I believe. They're going to come through here and cut some of that down so that when people are on the trail, they're not walking into that area and getting injured.
Right.
So they're going to clear the flat area of the bluff.
Gooseberries are great wild plants that you can make jelly out of, and they hold the terrain in. So.
Yep, so that's one of the concerns we have. So they're going to cut the ones out for us that are right along the trail, so people walking on the trail with their dog or whatever don't end up getting injured.
Mr. Kursky, will a trail be a trail easement or a conservation easement?
Mayor and Council, the trail will be a trail easement.
Okay.
And it's mostly on our property, so the only places that it impacts are these 2 homes. The rest of this is all city property, so there will be no easement because it'll be on our property.
And I'm trying to think if it's beneficial to have it on the actual land title of the house, that if it's on their property.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, we had a long discussion with the developer. As you can see, the bluff starts right here. So in order to make this trail grades, we needed to put it in the back of these houses. So they've agreed to that as part of this, and these owners will know that there's a trail in the back of their property.
It'll be on the deed?
Yep.
Okay. And
Pardon me?
buyer beware, you should probably read the deed, right?
We've run into that recently, too.
I know, but I mean, if it's on the deed before they purchase it and it says it's going to be there, you know, it's pretty hard to come back later and say, I didn't know that.
So Mayor and Council, they're going to be grading out that trail as part of their overall mass grading. So that trail will be asphalt and will connect to the existing asphalt trail that's right over here. So it'll be the first kind of, in the 8 years I've been here, kind of the first connection now that we're making through this. And they're going to be taking some of the dirt, if you remember, from this project to level this side out. So as soon as they get going over here, that trail will continue.
And then I suppose last question, as same as I asked on the one we did two meetings ago to the west, since the water flows downhill from this bluff line to the back of these houses in this trail, catching that storm water is going to be critical.
So Mayor and Council, you can see right here, there is a natural ravine that the city owns that cuts through right here. And we're working with engineering on how this trail is going to cross that. But that ravine goes all the way down to 169, that goes into some pipes that go under 169, eventually end up in the Veerling Greenway waterway. So it's a pretty complicated water system.
100-year flood? 100-year flood?
Yes.
Okay.
Not what it connects to, though.
Questions on this side?
I was just asking about the trail. That trail runs west, but where's it ultimately connect to? I know the bluff, it kind of runs along the bluff and then.
That's that next development we talked
Yep.
about.
So Mayor and Council, the next development will continue that trail, and then we
Old Brickyard Road.
have on the Planning Commission Thursday annexing in the last vacant property and the 3 houses that are down there, because eventually the sewer and the trail need to go through that area, because it then will connect further down into D.R. Horton's property. And working with the city engineer and the city administrator, we'll be drilling that sewer on one of those houses so we don't disturb the forest that they have. So eventually that trail will kind of meander through a forest.
Well, thank you.
Will it eventually connect with Old Brickyard?
Mayor and Council, no, because that's a pretty narrow road with some steep slopes on it. It turns at the Mullenhart property and then goes south, crosses, and we're working with Scott County on whether that'll be at grade or an undercrossing, and then it goes into the last property on D.R. Horton's site.
Okay.
To a park.
Just one final observation or question. I haven't seen the pie-shaped lots like that. If you can go back to that last slide, it showed it a little better. Any concerns there from a property ownership standpoint or from the city to have pie-shaped lots like that?
This one right here, Councilmember?
Yep.
Yeah, we have them in other places in the city. I mean, you have to be friends with your neighbor, basically. So when you mow together. But I will say that I just saw this. So this is a good diagram to show you where that trail is. So here's the existing end of that asphalt trail. So it'll be paved through here, comes in, and you can see it goes right through the backyards of these 2 homes and then comes along the street. And there's a connection to the sidewalk here. So people in this neighborhood can take that sidewalk and connect right to the trail and then go down, for instance, to the new gas station or whatever they need to pick up a loaf of bread. Or it's a pretty extensive, this neighborhood is blessed to have an extensive trail system.
Any other questions of staff? Mr. Whiting?
No, thank you for bringing that up. I think it's great to have these out in the public again. I know the Planning Commission gets them, but the City Council meeting, people like to watch that too, and I think it's important we have some of these discussions. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution R 2025 TAC 45, a resolution approving the final plat of Palomino Trail.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Councilor Contreras, discussion on the motion. Discussion on the motion. And either the concerns are already covered or you'll take them back to engineering and make sure they're covered for council?
Yes, sir.
All right, no other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Kursky. Item number 8 is a motion to recess to the Economic Development Authority meeting.
I'll make it.
Go ahead, no, go ahead, you
I'll
started.
make a motion to recess for the Economic Development Authority meeting.
Seconded by Councilor Contreras, motion by Mr. Delaney. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion passes. We are in recess to economic development. Mr. President.
I'll call to order the Tuesday, April 1st meeting of the Shakopee Economic Development Authority meeting. Mr. Parsons, please make note of the roll. With that, we'll move on to item 2, approval of the agenda. Is there any other items, any questions about the agenda?
No questions.
Look for a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion goes approved unanimously. Item 3, consent business. Approve of the EDA minutes is on the consent business.
Mr. President.
Lehman?
Mr. President, I have one quick question on the bills. There's two on,
Yet, but we can,
well, it's part of the consent, is it not?
okay, we can
Is
do
it
that,
not?
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. My only question was, there's two on the same day for Momentum Strategies, two separate billings.
So Mayor and Council, one is their retainer and the other is their out-of-pocket expenses.
Okay. All right, that answers that.
All right, with that, I'll look first for a motion for the approve of the minutes, and we'll include the EDA bill list if there's no other questions.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent business, including the EDA minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Discussion? All those,
That was
That
Bill
was
list,
actually on
not-
bill list.
well, we'll throw it together.
bill
Well, it's all
list, not
together.
minutes.
Yeah, well, that's
All
what I was
of
saying.
it.
We're going to do the minutes first.
Yep.
You said it was under consent, so I approved of that. Any other concerns? We have a motion and a second on the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. You went
That
too
is the approval of the minutes and the bill list.
Yep.
All right, we have an update 4B on our entrepreneurial efforts. Mr. Kursky.
Chair and board members, so this is kind of right. I noticed the one last year was the first meeting in April, so here we are again, just by coincidence, we're on the same first meeting. This will be kind of an update on our entrepreneur program and also on a development update. So first thing I want to say is this program's funded from our fees that come from Shakopee Public Utilities. They've been a great partner. They have been enormously responsive on supporting us on projects. And as Mr. Drent likes to say, they always try to figure out a way to make projects happen. So it's been a pleasure working with them. They've helped some of our entrepreneurs. They've helped us on some projects that there's a lot of activity going on right now nationwide, and Minnesota is getting some looks for a couple of big projects. We happen to have a couple of big sites, and so he's been doing yeoman service for the community, figuring out a way to try and make some of these happen and make us competitive. So again, Foundry, fueling innovation, forging growth. We're at the state capitol today, and Representative Tapke and Big Bird wanted to know kind of what the split out was from our companies. So here it is. So we cover basically from Apple Valley to Waconia. There are 9 companies that are participating in the city of Shakopee. But you can see we're a pretty wide group of people. The spokesman for Foundry that spoke today at the state capitol said that the reason why this is we're unlike any other group in the state. We really attract a lot of people that are more into hard tech, so technology that you can touch and feel versus an app on your phone. And it's a much more welcoming group. We're split right now. If you remember, we started this 3 or 4 years ago. I think we had 4 members. We're at 35 as of today. I sent the list. It was attached in your packet. And it's split about 50-50 female founders and male founders, which is pretty remarkable in this short period of time.
Clearly, there's some value being added as it's growing. People want to
Absolutely,
be
sir.
involved. So.
Yep. So these were the companies you looked at last year. Very diverse group. We've added 4 more companies recently. So Bryant Williams, you'll see in a second, he is running a company called Hardcore Peanut Butter. So their goal in 2027, they're working with a lab out of Israel that they will have a peanut butter that you'll be able to eat next to somebody who has a peanut allergy. Today you cannot do that. It can't even be in the house, but they've been working pretty strongly. His Hardcore Peanut Butter is in stores right now. They're in a number of markets in this market. They're currently sold out. They have been so successful, their local co-packer could not handle the demand, and they've had to find a new co-packer. Another new company is Heart Glass. Demi George from Medina. They make women's clothing, particularly swimsuits, for actually to fit a woman's body. So they use a lot of new technology as far as production and scanning. Edward is a founder of Noel, which is a new swaddling product that's just going to be released that he has patents on. And then another person is Michaela Mancini. She's a really interesting story. She's an industrial designer. She actually invented a product, kind of put it away. It was up on the internet, and a company reached out to her and said, "Oh, where can we buy these?" And she said, "Well, it was just an idea." And they said, "Well, you should probably follow through with your idea." She's actually met with 4 of our Foundry members that are more advanced than her, and they've been giving her help on both intellectual property protection, but also on manufacturing.
So that one's a single person. How big are some of these companies growing, or employee base?
So Remastered Sleep, I think 4 or 5 people right now. 7-Minute Security is 1 person. Julio's probably 6 or 7 people. Wolf Tooth is up to 70 people. Steelhead Outdoors actually is a good story. The 2 founders, started that company in a garage. They are actually located in a building in Shakopee. One of the founders left his other job. He works there full time, and then they have 3 or 4 production people. So he's kind of in it to win it. Written Hugs Design is 1 person, but they employ probably 20 or 30 people outside of her business that do the printing and production. So, and they're growing. Iron Concert Media, who was just kind of an idea 3 or 4 years ago, they're booming, and he's a Shakopee company. He's staffed up, and if any of you know what the Sphere is like, it's kind of a immersive entertainment experience. They have the technology for that where you don't need a Sphere, so they've been shipping it out all over the U.S. So it's a lot of these companies are really kind of blossomed over the past 3 or 4 years.
Thanks.
Especially this one. So Mommy Solutions, they not only were the Healthcare Minnesota Startup of the Year, but they also won the Minnesota Cup. So
Mr. Lehman, you had a question? Or?
Mr. President, I had a question on the last slide with the 4 businesses. Are them in Shakopee, or where are they located?
So Bryant, I believe, is in Minneapolis. Demi George is in Edina. I'm not sure where OG is, and Michaela is in Jordan.
Okay.
Samamis, they're a Plymouth company. They were the Healthcare Minnesota Startup of the Year. They also won the Minnesota Cup, which about 1,500 companies participate in that. It's a rigorous month-long process. So they are kind of on a winning streak. They've also gotten a substantial investment. So some pretty cool technology you'll be reading about. And speaking of cool technology, Pelva Health, they just raised $500,000 from one of the companies that came and kind of pitched their services to the group. They're in the medical device field, kind of the sexual wellness area, and it's a bleeding edge company. They've gotten a huge amount of press in the past 2 weeks because it's a problem no one's really been working on, and so they've attracted a lot of capital and interest. Speaking of capital and interest, so this is Steelhead Outdoors. He was one of our original companies. They're actually made in Shakopee. He lives in Shakopee. He's on the board of advisors. They were able to get their product into Shields. This is their small safe. Retails for $215, and it's been pretty successful. And they're expecting that Shields will probably roll this out to all of their stores in the next 6 months. That's why they're currently in a space, and they've been looking for new space because all these companies, he actually spoke today, that was him with Representative Tapke today at the Capitol speaking on the hub. Since most of our companies are in the manufacturing space, when they scale, they need space right away. And so they're negotiating for some potential larger space in Shakopee because these smaller safes, there's a higher demand for them versus their larger safes, so they need more production space. And they're 100% made in the USA. So to give you an idea, the typical lock on one of these, like the one next to it that should remain nameless, probably costs them 90 cents or $1. Their locks that they use cost $15, so much higher quality. So this is No Lely, so Future Swaddling. So he has a patent on this, a patent pending, and he's about to go into production. That was one of our new companies. And here, people want to know what happens at our meetings. You'll notice the doors are closed. So the hardcore peanut butter guy came to the foundry and talked about his business and some of his challenges and how his formulas come about and what some of the upcoming flavors are and what kind of the headwinds he's facing. And so it's good to get kind of younger entrepreneurs and some of our more seasoned entrepreneurs, give him pretty honest feedback on what he needs to do. So this was his, he just joined the group a couple of months ago, so this was his kind of first exposure explaining his company.
You really can't, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
You really can't lose with cookies and cream and chocolate chips in my world.
Is this the peanut butter that you can be around if you have a peanut allergy?
It will be. They
They get the
are
technology.
expecting to launch that, I think, in 2027. But right now, their market's for kind of the hardcore exercise people, so it gives you that boost after workout. It's got blueberries in it and some other natural products. And they were looking at potential line extensions here to get them through the hump till they can get the peanut allergy peanut butter out on the market.
The single-serve sachets. Yeah. All right, thank you.
So this is one of our original 4 founders. Alan Tolkas, you can see he's in a wheelchair. This will be his 4th company that he's launched. So he presented at a closed-door meeting for about an hour, kind of the history of when he got in a wheelchair, what happened to him, his first 3 companies, where he failed, and then this company here. This is about ready to go to market. So this is a exercise machine that allows people in a wheelchair to walk, because exercising your extremities is critical for other organ survival. So your kidneys, your bowels, other things, if you're able to walk and you're spending most of your time in a wheelchair, it helps those organs function. So he has all the patents on this, and he's about ready to go to production. So people talk about overnight success. He's been working on this product for about 10 years. So he personally has invested several $1 million in the product. And again, the hub, this is what we talked with the Capital Investment Committee today and Senator Fu. So we've been building on the hub over the past couple of years and bringing other partners in. So new people kind of here are the Shakopee Chamber, the CDA Center for Entrepreneurship, and then Beta. So Beta Minnesota, they are the state accelerator. So they accelerate the success of Minnesota startup founders. So they are a statewide organization. They're based out of Minneapolis. They are growing leaps and bounds, so they would like to partner with us. And so this will give you an idea of their success. So they've had 264 startups. They've raised $633 million, and currently there's 2,286 companies out of Beta. So the founder, the current executive director of Beta, said people in Minneapolis are like, now, why are you going to Shakopee? And he's like, you should see what's happening in Shakopee. He said, you guys are all sitting working on your apps and stuff, but they're working on real products that are going to have a huge impact on people. So I think it's a big step forward for the community. And here's what their partnership's going to consist of. They're going to work with, they have a pretty big program with pitch workshops, Beta Tuesdays. They have their own accelerator where some of our companies can get assistance, and then they're going to provide us access to the Twin Cities Startup Weekend, which will be in October this year. And already this was their Beta showcase where all the companies that they feel are moving forward. JP Morgan is the main sponsor with Northeast Bank. They made the city one of the sponsors. This event attracted about 250 people. Christy Kemek, one of our early success stories, gave her pitch, and in the meantime, she also wrote a book. So she's been pretty busy. This book will be published, I think, next couple of weeks. But she was well received there. I think one of our companies says she'll be our first $100 million company. She's also been on the Block, BLOX show, which she was invited to. They interviewed something like 50,000 entrepreneurs in the country. She made the cut. That's a television show that's on Amazon. So she didn't win, but she got a lot out of it, a lot of support. Again, TAP 2025 dinner will be at the Landing on September 12th for all of the people that came last year and some more. We moved it a little later at the request of some of the breweries to 1 p.m. instead of noon, and we already have, which is exactly the same numbers we had last year, 24 breweries have already committed, all Minnesota breweries. And then to switch a little bit, so we've been working with Live Nation and Canterbury kind of on the next step at Canterbury.
I'm gonna hold you off
Yes,
just
sir.
a second on this one. Is there any questions about the hub? And maybe, yeah, go ahead.
Just not on, exactly on the hub, but just on the comment that you made that the event, right, the TAP 2025, well, that was actually the TAP 2025. No, it was just the event scored a 4.9 out of 5 from the attendees. That was
Yep.
really good, so great work.
Thank you.
I just wanted to, great work on that, yeah.
Commissioner Lehman.
Mr. President, I just wanted to make sure that the hub is not just for entrepreneurs, but that we're helping to capture individuals that are looking, you know, what are we going to do, what their natural talents are, what their inner desires are, and steer them in that direction, whether it's, you know, into the trade school or into a college or, you know, helping them design whatever widget they want to make. So I want us to have that diversity in there. I just didn't see it listed in here.
Well, it's kind of a broad, open canvas now,
Right.
and the advanced manufacturing training, you know, you build the space and they can come and use it or for time. Angel investors groups, these are all kind of opportunities, I think, more, and then we have some of the solid backers now.
There's a serious shortage into the future for the trades, and if without the trades, a lot of these things
Disappear.
aren't successful.
Yep.
Well, sure, I envision some training be involved with using some of this space, this co-working space and maker space. I think that's kind of the opportunity.
But I don't know that the space is the issue. I think having the direction or the partnership, I guess it would be with, you know, here you've got a state university. You know, I think what's missing here is a partner in the vocational area.
So, Chair and board members, so Corey touched on this today at his testimony at the state capitol. So Minnesota State has a relationship with all the technical schools by law. So Hennepin Tech, Dakota, and there's one other, the one that's in Bloomington. Normandale, thank you. So they have an open agreement with all of them and actually run some programs in those various schools. So as they see demand, for instance, Corey mentioned today that, you know, working with metals is a really important part of their business and the technology, how it goes together. Minnesota State will then reach out to one of those technical schools and say, look, we've identified this gap. That's why we have high bay space, because they don't have that at Normandale or at Hennepin Tech. So high bay space, you can do big sheets of metal and other things. That training would occur here. And then the reason why the chamber is going to be one of the tenants of the hub is they kind of shift their mode towards workforce development. And so a lot of their workforce development programs will be held at the hub. And those are programs funded by the state for very specific trades in support of the companies in the area. So students that will come to the hub will have a job that will be in Shakopee or Scott County that they'll go to and then come back for additional training here.
Any other questions on that? Thank you. Yes, this would be fun.
So we've been working with Live Nation and Canterbury on not only the amphitheater, but also the area to the south, which we're kind of calling the Southeast Village. You see we have the Southwest kind of development where Omri is and the new office building that's under construction and some of the restaurants. So what happens to the area to the south of the amphitheater? So we had some sketches done up working with Canterbury on what the potential could be. That really large parking lot in the back here, if I can get this to work. This will actually be owned by the EDA. This is the lot that, if you remember from our development agreement, will be exclusively used by the amphitheater and amphitheater days, but the other 320 days a year, it's to serve this project right here. So we have been working with Canterbury, and they've been soliciting proposals to do kind of a joint agreement where we would share 50-50 in the cost to do a full market feasibility analysis and go out and get these tenants like the hotel. This is proposed to be potentially another major new-to-market entertainment user, some housing, and some additional retail and restaurants. But this is a pretty large investment, so we need to get some backup for it. But this is kind of the flavor that we're looking at to create, so more urban streetscape with outdoor dining near the amphitheater. And then again, a new hotel, first to market here, that would support not only amphitheater with the 600,000 people they're projecting the first year, but also some of our new companies like GN Resound, who's going to be moving their North American corporate headquarters here this fall. That building is currently under construction that you all toured. So right now it looks like they've gotten probably half a dozen or more proposals back from different firms around the country and some local firms. We'll be back to you probably in a month or so with kind of a split on what that proposal would be. The funding for that proposal would come out of the Canterbury administrative dollars that we've been collecting out of that TIF that we have to use to support things like this.
So I went to Culver's the other day, this weekend, and sat and looked at that corner and said, what could we put on that corner, or what would happen on that corner? Because we don't get to put it on there, but this is more than I dreamt up. But Mr. Lehman?
Mr. President, the question I would have is, if state legislation passes for no minimum parking, would that have any impact on the plan we're looking at? Or could it have an impact? I know it was steered toward residential. I don't know the finer details, nor do you, as they're not done with their session.
Chair and board members, I don't think it'll have any impact on this. This is, a hotel which people are going to drive to. And the amphitheater, we're hoping that not everybody drives to it. We have an agreement with MBTA. We're working with the new general manager for the amphitheater. Will be moving her from Chicago at the end of the summer, and so we'll be working with him over the winter on all the different assets. Because Mr. Reynolds and I and some other staff met with the Live Nation staff and asked the blunt question of, what if you have 10 or 12 huge events here? Do we have enough parking? And they said, no, we're going to have to rely on MBTA, Southwest Transit, to partner with them to get people to remote lots, because you don't want people sitting here for hours. You want them in and out of here in under an hour. And I think the police chief's pretty confident with their experience. As you are aware, we'll be bringing forward an agreement where Live Nation will be having a public safety fee on the tickets that will basically cover the cost of the security at the facility, but also all the traffic details that are necessary. So we won't be billing them on a regular basis. It'll come as one check back to us from ticket sales. So on a big night right now, the police chief's projecting that we'll need 15 officers for an event. So it'll be a lot of traffic that will need to be well controlled.
Mr. Kursky, there was a lot of work with the Renaissance Festival in managing off-site parking. Is there going to be a lot of that type of preliminary work with ticketing so that people know where they can park up front?
Chair and board members, yes. So Live Nation, is pretty sophisticated on their ticketing because they own Ticketmasters. So they will not only connect the ticket, but they'll also connect through their Ticketmaster app where you're parking. So it's going to be a pretty sophisticated operation. They actually have, with all the Canterbury lots that they have contracts with, a substantial amount of parking, except when Canterbury has events. When that happens, they'll have to move kind of that off-site parking similar to Renaissance Festival. So there'll be an event management plan that'll be brought to you for final approval in the next few months that Live Nation's been working on.
So contracting to have this new, the corner, I guess we'll call it.
It's 28 acres, sir.
28 acres, it's a big corner. What's the good points on it, and what's the bad points, and who are out there that could work with us on that?
So Chair and board members, so HRNA, who worked on the comp plan, they did similar projects nationwide. They're probably the largest one, and there's 3 or 4 smaller firms that are broken off from HRNA and other firms that have given proposals to Canterbury, which once we get everything packaged up, we'll bring to you. And then they've spoken with one of the things that's all of the feasibility firms said you need to develop a brand for this because people got to know they're going somewhere. You just can't say we're going to the amphitheater and whatever's next to it. So one of the components will be developing, whenever you come up with what the mixture is, what that brand's going to be. Right. So this gets called something. Because one of the issues we have is everybody calls this Canterbury Park. It has really nothing to do with Canterbury Park. This is a standalone facility. And I think Live Nation's kind of faced that. Everyone thinks it's owned by Canterbury, and Canterbury has no interest in the amphitheater.
Just that they're there.
Under park.
Any other questions about this development?
Nothing.
So they'll come in and they'll put the branding together, and you said they'll put the plan together. Will they go out and actually try and locate these partners?
Chair and board members will be working jointly. In fact, I've been working on the hotel that's kind of on the right there. We've talked to a couple of partners, and of course, they want to know what the demand is. And a couple of them have said, you know, you've got a lot of kind of low-end hotels. We don't have any really kind of finer-end hotels. So working, we did a survey of our local employers, and between GN and our local employers, there's a potential for 4,000 kind of better nights beyond the amphitheater. So that's not a lot of nights, but it's kind of a guarantee you're going to get some activity here for sure. Most of those people right now have told us they're going to Bloomington. So we want to take that traffic away from Bloomington and keep them in Shakopee.
Any discussion on ballroom space in this hotel and kind of convention space?
Yep. Board members and chair, one of the things that came out from the survey is that people want to have a shuttle to the airport from the hotel. That was number one. Number two was meeting space. And number three was the ability to work with Canterbury when they have, say, 1,000-person event, to use Canterbury's facility and have it somehow, you know, shuttle connected to this hotel. Because there's no need to build kind of a big space because they have one that they can decorate, which is way underutilized. So Canterbury's talking about how they refresh that and make it more marketable. There's a lot of groups. Tim Zunker from the Convention and Visitors Bureau said there's lots of groups that look right now and kind of go, all right, we can make this facility work, but where are they going to stay? I think with having several hundred rooms on property here would help considerably.
Good point. Any other comments? Go ahead.
Well, then I think once they start molding this and figuring out what your targeted marketing drive is, you're going to be able to fill in some of the smaller uses that enhance the bigger uses for a fuller experience.
You get some of those anchors in there and the rest follow.
Well, and you know, you're looking at what market are you really going after. If you have a high-end hotel, you know, that's got a specific market, and what do you want to enhance that with? And then you have other markets already on site. So how do you join them together? And that's where, you know, some of these consulting firms that have done this all over the world have the knowledge to figure out how to connect things together so that they flow and capture more than just a small market, but a larger market of different pieces.
Tap into that.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, chair and board members, I mean, Mr. Reynolds always says we're the entertainment destination. We want to become the entertainment destination. Between the amphitheater and some of the other ideas that have been tossed around here, this really could become a major destination.
Any other questions before, move on? Okay, any other questions, Mr. Delaney? Any thoughts? What's the first concert? That's what I hear a lot. Do we know?
Sir, there are NDAs that Live Nation has.
I haven't signed anything yet.
So.
All right, thank you for that.
That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you.
All right, without objection, we'll adjourn to May 6th, 2025 at 7 p.m. We stand adjourned.
Do we need a motion for that?
Without objection, are you going to object?
No. So we don't need a motion.
I'm going to say no. We're adjourned. Are we legal? Okay. Yeah.
So number 9, we'll reconvene the city council. Item 10, liaison reports. Councilor Contreras.
Thank you, Mayor. Where are my notes? I have it here. Well, I don't actually have a liaison report, but I did attend the Minnesota National Latino Peace Officers Association, where I did represent the city as a panelist for the 2025 Women's History Month, along with 4 other panelists, where we shared pretty much just personal stories and tried to inspire women to step up into these leadership roles. That's what I did.
Congratulations. Yeah, good.
Yep.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Mr. Whiting?
Thank you. MVTA met, continued discussions about the Suburban Transit Association, and also opportunity. we're going to be having it hopefully on consent in the next meeting. We're bringing Dakota County back on the board, so that just changes the group. We have to sign the papers again, adding Dakota County to our board. It doesn't change anything else, just that we're allowing a new member. They were on before. For whatever reason, they dropped off MVTA. Now they're asking to come back on, and we're welcoming them.
Who do they have for a provider?
They have MVTA. The county they had a little bit of Metro Transit, so they were worried that they were going to get into some battle back and forth, I think was the concern at the time. But that concern is no longer there, and so
They still have both providers?
yeah, in a portion of the area, yeah. But they want to have a say on what's going on with transit in their community.
Mr. Delaney.
A whole lot going on at 169 and Commission, our coalition, and SP. We have our meeting coming up next month. But as far as MVTA, they did meet with the Benedictine residents to tell them more about the microtransit, which is a really great way to get around. It does offer a lot more benefits versus some things we do currently have, and also solve some of the problems they were experiencing. I'd like to just thank Jason DeMoe, Joya Stetson, and Anna Mullen for putting that on. Also, you're going to go back over and show them how to get the apps loaded on their phone and use them, which is a great customer service. Also had an opportunity to be a judge at the 88th Annual Science Fair that happened last Friday. That's always a great experience. At that age, I was not getting patents and IEEE papers, but there are some kids that have patents and IEEE papers, and that was just amazing. We also attended there was a community iftar, which the mayor was also there, and I think one of our planning commissioners, some other community partners. It was held at Community Center. I'd like to thank Community Center. They helped get that set up, and that was really, really good time and a lot of good community outreach there. So.
I had something to add. You mentioned microtransit, and part of the discussion was now with state employees in St. Paul coming back online, the rapid service down to downtowns, which was dropped off during COVID. If that gets back up and rolling more, that's going to affect microtransit. There's only so many dollars in the pot. Right now, we're pushing it towards microtransit. If some of that more downtown ridership picks up, we're going to have to adjust.
Okay. Very good. A lot of information there. My liaison reports, we all saw in the news that Walmart is gearing up for $350 billion worth of improvements in their business model. Part of that is coming to Shakopee. They're going to be doing some upgrades to the Shakopee store and making some various changes out there. Met with the new store manager. He's got 31 years of experience with the company. Mr. Norquist was his name. Pretty decent vision. I was pretty positive. It was pretty positive talking to him about what he sees for Shakopee locations. So we'll see how that pans out for them in the future, and we wish them the best of luck, obviously. Most of council and our administrative staff attended in the mind-bending escape project with council. Councilor Delaney, you don't know what you missed?
We got out. We won.
We broke records. Absolutely broke records.
Nice,
We were awesome, all of us, including staff. So that was a good time had by all.
You want to get a little feedback? So we had a little off-site council at our local escape room, and
Off-site council.
We had off-site council group session, I guess, kind of fundraiser.
It was a brain bender that there was no action taken.
Yeah, no action taken.
and it was noticed as required. So it was a good mind bending operation.
Mind bending,
so
yeah.
Keeps everybody sharp, I guess. It was fun. It was a blast, actually. So anybody out there that wants to look for something entertaining other than the norms, try the escape room up at West End Mall. It's a blast. You're gonna have to do some thinking. It's hard, but it's fun. You agree? Let's see, what else do we have? I just wanted to hit on April 26th, Shakopee Cleanup Day, Public Works, 4th Avenue, 7:30 start.
Get in line early.
Get in line early. I think it's 7:30 to is 11 or something like that. Also, the Shakopee, 11:30. Mr. Reynolds and I have, in our meetings with the county, Prior Lake, and Mdewakanton Sioux community that we have quarterly, you know, we all know they're going to shut down the ORF in Shakopee for certain aspects of what it's being used for. They may use it for some other aspects. They're building a huge new state-of-the-art, environmentally friendly facility on 41 just over the tracks going toward Chaska on the west side. You know, we've been working through what happens to the Shakopee citizens with their leaves and their brush or whatever from their properties. And they've put out that they're going to allow free drop-off service for Shakopee residents during regular business hours for their yard, you know, leaves and stuff like that. Probably going to need your ID. More information will be coming forward. I'm really happy that something got worked out there.
It was May and October.
For May and October.
May and October, correct. So it's not full-time, and I'm sure they're going to put out some information
Yes,
that'll
sir.
be shared on our website and their website and everything else. So this is just fresh news, welcome news, and, you know, we've been talking about it for quite a while, how that transition's going to take place. So once again, a good partnership with the Shakopee, Mdewakanton Sioux community and stuff. So,
So are we taking that at cleanup day too? The yard waste? Yes, okay. So we take it then, but if you miss cleanup day, you can take it out there in May.
May and October.
Yep.
So, yep, October, I'm going to guess will be leave time. I'm not sure what May is, but stuff that's,
The rest of the stuff you've collected up. from the
although I
spring.
suppose, you know, I remember I used to put leaves around Mom's house, and May would be the time to take them out, so. All right, that's my report. Item 10A, city bill list.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to remind everyone, if you haven't heard, we have a new sand venture coming up, pretty exciting. Been totally revamped and renovated. And if you're interested, on Friday, April 25th, we will be having our one-day sale on season passes and punch cards, where they're 25% off. And rumor has it that at 9 a.m., Shakopee's favorite pirate will be there to read stories to children. So I'm encouraging everybody to come out. He also has a big chest of gold that he hands out to good pirates, so we're looking forward to that.
Are you going?
Pirate Eli.
I will be there.
Very good, Mr. Reynolds. Thank you. City bill list. Any questions on the city bill list?
Right.
Mr. Delaney, Mr. Whiting? No?
No questions here, no.
You good?
I'm good.
Any other business? Item number 12.
I'll make a motion to adjourn to April 15th at 7 p.m.
Second.
Mr. Whiting and Mr. Delaney, any discussion on the motion? Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.